and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Yes, and as we begin this service, let that peace within each one of us hold us in oneness this morning, hold us in wholeness this morning. Let it radiate out into the world, for truly peace begins with each one of us in this room, each one of us online. And we are so blessed to have everyone join us this morning with our musicians, our music, our sound people, even our technology. We are so blessed on this wonderful, beautiful spring day. Please join me in affirming, and so it is. Amen. We are an interfaith gathering, a spiritual community that honors all teachings and all spiritual teachers. And we begin our candlelighting service this morning with celebration that honors this oneness, that all people, all faiths come for the one universal presence, which we call Spirit. And our candlelighter this morning is Bob Corpin. He's always here supporting us. And the faith during this season of peace that we wish to highlight is a Sikh prayer for peace. Inner peace is achieved when we have found the strength to live in our hearts and follow our soul's path. When we develop enough inner strength and identity to be able to work within stressful environments or challenging times, then we are living a dharma of true peace. When challenged by the chaos of the times, we can be pulled off our center into arguments or into conflict. But with inner peace, we can live in our centered power to serve the situations we face with grace. And our second candle is our healing candle of love. We invite you in the stillness of your own mind to bring awareness to the names of anyone you wish to be included in this healing flame of love and light. And now that our flames of faith are fully lit, we move forward in our celebration, realizing and reaffirming that all paths lead to God. Thank you, Bob. And our inspirational quote for contemplation today is from Thich Nhat Hanh. We humans have lost the wisdom of genuinely resting and relaxing. We worry too much. We don't allow our bodies to heal. We don't allow our minds and hearts to heal. And now on to more music.
God's mind is working in my mind. I see the light shining through. Divine ideas of all kinds. I know just what to do. My mind is the gate. I can create
are. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Ann Fleming. I'm a practitioner here at the center. It's great to see new faces here in the congregation and welcome you all online as well. As you know, we are a praying congregation, and our practitioners love to pray for all prayers that come in during the week. You can submit a prayer online at our website, cslalaska.org. You can fill out a prayer request in our prayer box back here, a little blue sheet of paper, slip it in there, we'll pray for you. And if you'd like to contact one of the practitioners here today, just say, I'd love to have a prayer, 1 minute miracle, we call it. And we'll hold the highest good for you. And myself, Reverend Dawn, Robert in the back corner, who's holding the presents, Judy Wolf, our greeter, and Bob Corpin, who just lit the candles. Right here, I see those are the practitioners that are here today. So we have approximately 16 practitioners that will pray for you. And I do see new faces. We have a welcome packet that we'd like to give you. Just raise your hand if you're new here today and would like a packet. And it has information about our philosophy, a copy of the Science of Mind magazine that talks about what we believe and is awesome. So, Judy, would you come forward? Just raise your hand if you'd like a welcome packet, and we'll be glad to give that to you. And there's a gentleman right there, too. Thank you. And would you like a welcome packet? I see it in the face. Okay. So a few announcements. Again, every month we donate 5% of our tithes and offering to a local community business. This month we are donating to Alaska Blood Bank. The Season of Peace that we and Nonviolence that we subscribe to from Martin Luther King's birthday through Gandhi's birthday, April 4th, we just offer some peace material. We have a lending library in the back here, some arts and crafts, some other information that will go through April 4th. We have Social Meditation by Gail Jackson. She is doing that online, and that will go through this Thursday. Our annual business meeting, if you'd like to learn the state of our center's financial and upcoming plans, please come to our business meeting. And also, if you're a member and would like to be on our leadership council, we have 2 openings. Two people are coming off our leadership council. Please see Reverend Dawn. And then we are going to have a Taizé prayer service, April 13th. That's the week before Easter. It's a very solemn, quiet, healing service. Sacred readings, contemplative prayer, candle lighting. And we just invite you to come in and enjoy this special time of peace. So that will be on April 13th, so Wednesday night. Thank you very much. And then, Reverend Don, you have a minister's moment, too? Okay.
Just an update on the status of our reopening. Bob and Amy came in this week. They've got all the cables picked up, and now they run along the front and up the walls and over across and back to the soundboards. So we are getting set. All we have to do now is move in more chairs, and we need the numbers to drop. We were doing really well. We were down to just a little over 10. It was like 10 or 12 per 100,000. And then we shot right back up, and I think we're over 100 the last 3 days. But this is going to happen, and we are going to be opening back up completely, no masks, and we're going to be there. So we know that there is a power in the universe, and it is there to help us. And so that's kind of where we're at. And a special thank you to Bob and Amy for all that they did. High-fiving each other in the back. Thank you guys very much.
It always seems there's too much space between where I am and where I'd like to be. And yet when I stop to look around at the good life I have found, I can't help but see here and now I have all that I need. Here and now, this is where I'm meant to be. And somehow, tomorrow come what may, I will be okay as I learn to love here and now. I'm always running half a step behind the image of my life that's in my mind. And yet when I let myself slow down, I see beauty all around, and I'm reminded once again, here and now, I have all that I need. Here and now, this is where I'm meant to be. And somehow, tomorrow come what may, I will be okay as I learn to love. Here and now, I have all that I need. Here and now, this is where I'm meant to be. And somehow, tomorrow come what may, I will be okay as I learn to love here and now. Here and now. Here and now. Here and now.
Thank you, Jessica, Aaron. That was beautiful. And it's really hard to follow. A month or 6 weeks or so ago, Kaleem told a story. It was about a man. He was home with his son. He had a project to work on, and he kind of needed something to keep his son occupied for an hour or so while he did this project for work. And he saw a picture in a magazine. I had a mental image of a National Geographic, and it was a landscape scene, and he thought, this will be great. So he took a pair of scissors and he cut this landscape scene up into various shapes and then mixed them all up and gave them to his son to put them back together. And he did it pretty hard. You know, it was not going to be an easy fix because the landscape all looked very, very similar. And he was thinking it was going to take hour, maybe hour and a half, something like that, for his son to put this picture together. And like in 15 minutes, his son comes back and it's complete and it's done. And the guy is just shocked. He said, and wheels going upstairs. He's thinking, my son's some kind of a spatial prodigy. He's amazing. And he asked his son, how did you do that? That was really hard, and you did it so quickly. And his son said, no, Dad, it was really easy. If you turn it over, there's a man's face, and it's real easy to see the eyes, the nose, the ears. It all goes together really easy. And I think that story has an important message for us, and that is sometimes we need to change our perspective. Sometimes we need to look at things a little bit differently. And it gives us a chance to see the world a different way. Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us here this morning. Thank you for those of you who have come out on this beautiful spring day. Wow, spring is here and it's still March. Wow. Thank you for coming out today. And welcome to those of you who are watching live at home. What did Shirley May call them? The Bedside Baptists. Thank you for watching today, and for those of you that are watching later, we honor you as well, and particularly the YouTube people. We've got, Cora is there every week. Promise to Denise that we will get the YouTube up by noon on Monday. Trying to think of some others. Lisa, we've got several very active people watching YouTube later during the week. We have, our online presence is still a little more than double our presence here. So I want to make sure that I honor the people online as well. The theme for this month has been play. I talked about playing Twister with the divine, and then Stevie talked about playing hide and seek with spirit. Kaleem talked about spring ahead, fall back, or stay where you are. Today the title of my talk is I'll Rest When I'm Dead. And I have two major points. Since Stevie had four, I only get two. First point is so happy together, and my second point, I'm going to talk about rest and the importance of rest. So we start off with so happy together, and that is the importance of play. I think I learn a lot more from my grandkids than I realized. Some years ago when Frozen first came out, my granddaughter was a real fan of Frozen. And I remember a segment in Frozen where Elsie was uncomfortable with the fact that she could freeze things, and she tried hiding it. And Anna, her sister, would come up and ask her if she wanted to play. She'd ask her, do you want to build a snowman? And the takeaway from that for me, as I thought about this idea of play and rest and how important that is to us, is that when Elsie finally gave in and decided to recognize that which was already within her, she did all these wonderful things. She was making ice bridges and ice castles, and she could do this all so easily, and that was already within her all along. And she could, of course, easily make a snowman. We all have within us everything that we need to do what the divine wants us to do, what the divine wants us to express. We already have within us everything that we need to be that. And we have within us the ability to establish a willingness to be with others in a playful way. This stuff doesn't have to be so serious all the time. We can have fun at this. In fact, I submit that it's the intention for that creative force of the universe that we are joyful, that we do have fun, that we laugh. that it's a part of who we are. Charles Schaefer said, "We are never more fully alive, more completely ourselves, or more deeply engrossed in anything than when we are playing." So the question then is, well, how do we go about playing? Well, in our culture, that can be really difficult. Even the things that we have constructed as play become competitive. Look at perhaps one of the most famous board games ever, Monopoly. Well, what if you happen to be the poor slob that has a couple of bad rolls, or whatever happens, you get booted out early. You're sitting there on the sidelines dead for sometimes a couple of hours. Or even something more active like paintball. You get shot, you're out, you're done, you're dead. And so it's hard for us to embrace this idea of play, of constructive play. However, in Europe, they're called Euro games, or more commonly known as German-style board games. Rather than having winners and losers, people work together to solve a problem or to create something, but the idea is cooperation. They come together to work to do it. And what that sounded to me like was an escape room. And I remember when, before the pandemic, and we started going to escape rooms. And I remember the first one that I went to, I didn't feel very good. I didn't think I was contributing at all. And I was with a group of really creative, smart people that were, boy, they could just jump on that stuff. I never could do a Sudoku. That is as foreign to me. And yet that was solving one of the problems we had to have to get out of this room. And this one was a series of rooms. You'd solve one problem, a move, it'd allow you to go to the next room. And we got into one room, and I was marveling at how well everybody was working together. And I noticed this big thing up on the wall. And it didn't have anything to do with any of the things that anybody was doing. And it was painted there. And I knew just enough to know that nothing was wasted in these rooms. And so I started looking at it, and I didn't have it figured out at all. But I heard one of the groups solve one of their problems. And I realized that solution went into this thing on the wall. So as I sat there and listened, I could hear each group that was working solve their part of the problem. My contribution wasn't that I did anything. My contribution is that I had, in that moment, the 30,000-foot view, and I could see how all of the things fit together into a bigger whole. So even I made a contribution to our team, enabling us to move on to the next room and go to it. But it doesn't have to be some big organized thing. It doesn't have to be a Euro game. It doesn't have to be an escape room. It can be something just as simple as a group of people going together to go to a musical. And what a great time a group of us had. And I understand we weren't the only ones. I think there was another group, in fact, Friday night that went. And I want to give a shout out to Aaron, too. My goodness. You talk about an athlete. That is one athletic endeavor. That young lady pounded those keys for 2 hours solid. I think she got one 10-minute break. And other than that, it was quite an athletic endeavor. It won.
One more show.
Tonight. Tomorrow? No, this afternoon at 3. Is it sold out? If it's not sold out, whether you're at home, if you're watching YouTube during the middle of the week, you missed it. But if it's still not too late, and I would really encourage you to go. And I think there's a good chance you'll run into other people from our congregation there. It's at the Anchorage Community Theater, ACT. We showed it once upon a time, but Google it, ACT, Anchorage Community Theater. It's over on 70th Avenue between Old and New Seward Highway. Be careful where you park. Anything else I'm forgetting? You know, we used to do a thing, and we did it, I don't know, 2 or 3 times before the pandemic hit, and that was community game night. And we used to play games here. And I submit that those kinds of things can really be good because we come together and we play together as a community. And then the other way that we can play, it gets back to this idea of our perspective, and I call it attitude adjustment. Several years ago, the whole family had been to the cabin, and we were working on the cabin. I think Dan's cabin was going up by then, so we were working on his cabin. Ann and all the kids came back earlier, and Dan and I stayed on a Sunday late. What could possibly go wrong? And we finished up what we wanted to do. I think we finally left the cabin 6:30. It was about this time of year. And we got part way back, and one of the snow machines just died. Just flip, 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 boom. And that's okay. We've got 2 machines. So we have a tow rope. We hooked it up, started pulling with my machine, and got like 200 yards down the tracks, and blub, 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 mine rolled over and dead. So started looking at it, pulled a plug, shined a light down in there, and there's a big old finger-sized hole in the top of the piston. Both of them. We blew up both engines. So we're still a good distance out of Talkeetna, so there's not much you can do but start walking. So we walked all the way into Talkeetna. We got a machine, we had another machine, go all the way back, and we're going to tow it. And it was liquid cooled and had big paddles, and the trail was solid ice, and it would overheat every little bit. And we realized this was not going to work either. So we ended up turning around and had to walk to Talkeetna again. So we finally got back into town, and it was probably 11:30, and we were really, really tired. And of course, everything was closed, and I was thinking, well, maybe we can get a little bit of sleep in our car before we try and drive back. But I thought, we'll try Latitude 62 over here. And so I drove over to the Latitude 62, and there were a bunch of people there. They had had a concert that night, and a few people were still milling around. And we asked if we could get a room, and they gave us a room. So as I walked in, I looked up, and there was a sign on the wall. And I know that sign was probably there a long time, but I'd never noticed it. But I noticed it that night, and I notice it every time I walk in there, and that sign says, attitude. The difference between an adventure and an ordeal. And in that minute, we could sit there and be defeated. I mean, late to work. I had a conference call first thing Monday morning. Take the weight of the world. Or maybe we could look at it a little bit differently. And instead of an ordeal, oh, this is horrible, just another adventure going into the cabin in Talkeetna. And it made a huge difference in what we do. Attitude, the difference between an adventure and an ordeal. Maybe sometimes we just need to turn the pieces over and look at things from a different perspective. Point number 2, rest. I want to talk about rest from several different perspectives. First of all, faith traditions. The idea of rest is a common thread through all of the Abrahamic traditions. First in Hebrew traditions, then in Christianity, then in Islam. It's all, there's at least one day a week where we're expected to rest. In Christianity, it's typically Sunday. Hebrews rest on Saturday. But a day of rest is all the way through the Abrahamic traditions. Rest is a requirement in Buddhism. It's one of the basic principles of Buddhism is to rest. And it is a common thing in the Baha'i religion as well. I didn't look a whole lot further, but it's this concept of taking time to rest and renew is common in almost all faith traditions. It's true in philosophers. Philosophers have taught that it's important to rest all the way from the pre-Socratics in Greece all the way through today. Our sacred reading was from Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh also said, "It is very important that we relearn the art of resting and relaxing. Not only does it prevent the onset of many illnesses that develop through chronic tension and worrying, it allows us to clear our minds, to focus, and to find creative solutions to problems." And that philosophic quote is a perfect segue to the next thing, and that is science. Science teaches us the importance of rest. And we can start off with a good place, corporate research. Corporate researchers have determined that productivity increases when we actually take our vacations. I don't know how many years working for GE, I never used up my vacation. Never used it all. Gave it back to the company. And yet productivity increases when we take our time off. Improved problem solving. Corporate researchers show that when we take time off and we step away, we're able to solve problems better. And increased creativity. We can create things. We come up with more creative solutions. We can do things better when we take time off. And this was also proven in a study of artists. Artists became much more creative when they took time away. Finally, I look at the world of medicine. Doctors have found that periods of rest reduce stress, which reduces cardiopulmonary problems. Studies show that there is faster and more complete healing after trauma when the patient is allowed adequate rest. And even this morning, I opened up the newspaper and I was reading an article, and it stated how with sufficient rest, we have better brain health. That the plaque that builds up with Alzheimer's and stuff, when we get enough sleep, that is allowed to dissolve and to be passed on through. Okay, so we've got all of these different things, science, philosophy, religion, telling us the importance of rest. Why don't we do it? Why are we so bad at it? And I submit there are three reasons that we avoid rest. The first is our Puritan work ethic. It is part of our culture. We are expected to work hard. If you want to give somebody a compliment, if you want to say something really nice about somebody, what do you say? Oh, they work hard. If I want to tell Erin how much I appreciate her, I do it by saying how much she works in that production. It's who we are. It's part of what we do. And Brené Brown, everybody, I think most of you know I'm a real fan of Brené Brown. She wrote, "It takes courage to say yes to rest and play in a culture where exhaustion is seen as a status symbol." It takes courage to say yes to rest and play in a culture where exhaustion is seen as a status symbol. Second thing that keeps us from experiencing rest and play is a belief in lack and limitation. Now, I'm sure that some of you are raising your eyebrows about that, because I talk about avoiding those thoughts of lack and limitation all the time. But we think if we work hard enough, we're going to make up for those things that we don't have. If we work harder and work longer and do better, we're going to make up for the stuff that we have. Forgetting the idea that we already have everything that we need. We completely ignore that, but we're going to work harder. We don't have enough money, but if we work harder, we'll get it. We don't have enough resources, but we can get them if we work harder. You know, if I do a really good job of preaching, I'll get praise from the congregation. They'll come up and say, "Oh, Rev, you did a great job." And then there are those who need attention. This morning, Judy told me a meeting that she was at, and it got dominated by one individual from the lower 48. And some people just need that attention. And if we work hard, then we'll be noticed. People will notice who we are. And then there's the cult of the hustle. I remember one of my bosses had a sign in his office, and it said, "Everything comes to he who hustles while he waits." Hustle. Let's get it done. We don't have time to rest. I'll rest when I'm dead. Our philosophy that teaches us that you are enough is drowned out in the rush of busyness. We are so busy trying to get things done, we forget some of our basic truths. And the third thing, the third way that I see that we avoid rest, it gives us the opportunity to hide from our feelings. We can avoid healing damaged relationships. "Oh, I'm too busy. I can't do that." We can stay away from those difficult conversations. "Oh, I'll get to that. I'll do that later." But when we rest, we can truly see ourselves. And in that moment, then we can begin the process of forgiving ourselves, forgiving others, and moving past and beyond any perceived transgressions. So the takeaway today, what I want you to remember about today, simple as this today. Don't wait until you're dead to rest. And remember, attitude is the difference between an adventure and an ordeal. And so it is with this awareness of our inherent divinity, of that part of us that is complete in every way, that I invite my colleagues, the practitioners, to join me in holding our congregation in love and light and knowing a higher truth, a greater truth for each and every person in our congregation. For those people who are suffering from medical issues, health challenges, we just simply know that there is that within us that knows there is a blueprint, a pattern that is perfect in every way. And it is that perfection that we call forth. We call forth this on behalf of anyone who cannot see that perfection in themselves. And yes, the patient died. But that death in itself is an expression of the Most High. Speak my word for those who are experiencing lack and limitation, where you've got more month than there is paycheck. We know that we live in an abundant universe and that we are given everything that we need. We are given everything that we are willing to accept. And finally, I speak my word for those who are feeling separation. Separation from fellow man, separation from that divine source, infinite wisdom. We know that we can never be separate from that infinite creative force. We can never be separate from God. And we know that each and every one of us are expressions of that infinite source. And so as we approach one another, whether it be family relationships, romantic relationships, work relationships, however we connect with our fellow man, we know that this is God interacting with God. And we can just embrace that. We can embrace our fellow man, can turn the other cheek. We can let it go, let it be. And we give thanks. And for this, we are grateful. And so it is.
Step outside and step within. Feel the breeze on your skin. Feel the love it's trickling in. When you step outside, you step within. Step outside and step within. Feel the breeze on your skin. Feel the love it's trickling in. When you step outside, you step within. Feeling rooted through the grass, stretched to touch the sky, like branches in the wind, your mind reaching high. Step outside and step within. Feel the breeze on your skin. Feel the love it's trickling in. When you step outside, you step within. Step outside and step within. Feel the breeze on your skin. Feel the love it's trickling in. When you step outside, you step within. Feel the sand, the grass, the dirt, the earth between your toes. Feel the peace bubbling up. Don't fight it, let it show. Step outside and step within. Feel the breeze on your skin. Feel the love it's trickling in. When you step outside, you step within. Step outside and step within. Feel the breeze on your skin. Feel the love it's trickling in. When you step outside, you step within. When you step outside, you step within. When you step outside, you step within.
Love it. This is the time in the service when we are afforded the opportunity to participate in another spiritual practice, that being participating in giving and receiving. I have the same spiel. I do this every Sunday, but it occurs to me that perhaps it's important to give you a why. Why should you make a donation to our center? And there are many reasons, not the least of which is we do believe in this thing called the law of circulation. As you give out, it does come back to you. And we absolutely know this, and we've got testimony over and over to do it. But I think it's also important to note that your gifts allow us to do this. And I am one of the luckiest guys ever because I get to see it. I get to see lives changed because of this philosophy, because of this way of looking at the world, this way of looking at all the common threads of many, many different religions and philosophies and ways of being in the world and seeing them applied to somebody's life and having the freedom given, the burdens lifted. And that's why we ask you to support us financially. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. That is a different one, isn't it? But we do also believe in another thing called affirmations. If you'll join me in repeating our affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is. Thank you.
You're welcome. Spirit divine, I'm trusting Spirit to meet all my needs. When I trust in Spirit, I always succeed. Energy flowing, the light brightly shines. Spirit divine. Sometimes I'm frightened and feeling confused. Then I remember that I'm being used and exalted by Spirit divine. Spirit divine. I'm open and willing and I'm filling up. The blessings I feel overflow in my cup. With gratitude pointing me to the one mind. Spirit divine. I'm trusting Spirit to meet all my needs. When I trust in Spirit, I always succeed. Energy flowing, the light brightly shines. Spirit divine. With gratitude pointing me to the one mind. Spirit divine. Spirit divine. Spirit divine.
And as we close the service this morning, I'm so grateful for each and every person here today. So grateful for the message to remember to rest and play with Spirit. Please join me in affirming. And so it is. And I have an affirmation. Please say it after me. I play and rest with Spirit.
I play and rest with Spirit.
I live an adventurous life.
I live an adventurous life.
Thank you.
All right, this one has some call and answer, so expect all of you guys to do the response back. Okay, we're ready.
I shine
I shine